Well, hi again. Welcome again to Seekers and Cynics. My name is Richard Bentley. This is not Bodmin Road Church, as I usually say, because I'm recording this at home this week rather than in our church building. But this is our regular Seekers and Cynics Tuesday broadcast, where we try and answer people's questions and explain a little bit of the Christian faith for you, whoever you are, whether you're just looking, just dipping a toe in the water, trying to get your head around it, or still got great objections to it, that's fine. Here we're trying to give some helpful pointers and answers. And this week I want to, last time we looked at the question, doesn't religion just cause wars? This time I want to dig a bit further, as I promised I would, into that whole question of religion and some of the problems with it, actually. So today what I really want to do is think about the difference between following Jesus and being religious. And at first sight that might sound odd. Aren't those things the same thing? The fact is there is a vast difference. I want to try and explain that. So often when I'm talking about my faith and trying to explain faith, people will say to me, but I'm not religious. And very often the answer that I'll give is no, neither am I. And that, again, may sound odd, particularly coming from somebody with a dog collar. And so what I want to do today is try and explain that difference. How is it possible to be a follower of Jesus, to have faith in Jesus, without at the same time becoming, quotes, religious? That's what I want to explain. What do we understand by the word religion? What is it that you think of when you hear the word religion? Or perhaps a more pointed question would be, what is it that you would dislike about being religious or somebody who is religious? I think in broad terms, when people hear the word religion, they think of things like customs and rituals, odd rules and regulations, special buildings and priests, hierarchy and authority, special dates and days and observances, dogma and liturgy, dry and dusty books, long theological words. You may also be thinking weird people, proud people. Maybe you've met arrogant religious people, weak people, perhaps, hypocritical people, awkward people. Religious people, you might think of that vicar with whom it's impossible to have a normal conversation, or the worst case scenario, a person who walks into a building wearing a suicide vest. In all of that stuff, you would say probably, well, religion, yeah, who needs it? And I'm with you. And what might surprise you, and what I want to get over in this talk, is that Jesus is largely with you on that as well. The teaching of Jesus and of the whole New Testament, which sort of expands and explains his teaching, is that we desperately do need a relationship with God. We do need to get reconnected to God. But that religion, in the terms that I've just described it, is not at all the right way to go about doing that. It's interesting, even in the Old Testament prophets, so before Jesus, they knew this. The prophet Micah asks the question, what does God really want? What must I do to please him? And then in the same little section he answers his own question, and he doesn't answer it by saying religion or ritual or sacrifice. What he says in one of the most famous passages in the Old Testament is, act justly, be merciful, and walk humbly with God. There's no religion in that answer at all. But Jesus goes even further, and he actually goes on the attack, as it were. He goes on the warpath against religious practices and ideas. He breaks most of the religious customs and rules of his day, And he does that very often publicly in order to deliberately provoke debate and to deliberately pop the bubble of religious pride. He says to people who were bogged down, the ordinary people, the ordinary folk of his day who were bogged down under the heavy weight of religious customs and ideas, he says, come to me. If you're heavy burdened with religious nonsense, come to me, because my way is easy and light. I'll give you rest from all of that. So what he's saying is that we still need God, we still need forgiveness, we desperately need the new life and the Holy Spirit of God in our hearts, but religion is not the way to go about finding that or getting that. Okay? Because it tends to make people either arrogant or miserable, or very often both. And we don't need that. It certainly does not set people free. Jesus, in fact, confronted the religious hypocrisy of his day so vehemently and so vociferously that the religious community ended up plotting against him and having him executed on charges of blasphemy. But the problem then became that whilst those very first followers of Jesus did follow in his steps and began to spread a very simple message of forgiveness and salvation through his death and resurrection, that's a topic for another time, they began to spread not a religion but a very simple message of Jesus. What happened then was that over the years and over the centuries that followed, the Christian church gradually forgot that simplicity of what Jesus had taught and began to add more and more religious stuff again, rules and rituals and customs and hierarchy and power and all of that, none of which originated with Jesus himself. And so that leads us to a situation today where the Christian message has become rather foggy and difficult for people to understand. So I say to you, you need Jesus Christ, which you do, which we all do. But what many people hear me saying is, you need to become religious, which you don't. And that's not what I'm saying at all. But these things have become confused. We do need God, but not religion. In fact, very often those two things are polar opposites. I would encourage you as I close just to go do some original research yourself. Go right back. Cut out 2,000 years of Christianity and churchiness. Go right back to the pages of the New Testament, to the Gospels, to Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, to those original first-hand accounts of Jesus and his teaching, and read them. They only take you a few days to read Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. They aren't great big long books, and if you get a modern translation in English, they're easy to read. They're just his biography from 4 different biographers. And just read the Gospels and ask yourself, what do I think of this guy? What do I think of this Jesus? Do I like him? What is he actually saying? What is he actually asking? What is he actually offering me? And what you'll find if you take an honest look, I think, is that it's not religion at all. It's something else entirely. It's actually a whole new life, a whole new start, a whole new freedom. God bless, and I'll see you next week.